of Management Studies IGNOU presents an audiobook on the course MMPC 010 titled Managerial Economics for MBA Program. Presenting Block 4 titled Pricing Decisions, Unit 12, Pricing Under Monopolistic and Oligopolistic Competition.
Unit 12. Pricing under Monopolistic and Oligopolistic Competition. Objectives. After going through this unit, you should be able to describe the concept of the pricing decisions under monopolistic competition in short run as well as long run. Explain the concept of product differentiation with special reference to monopolistic competition. Differentiate between monopolistic competition and oligopoly. Apply models of oligopoly behavior to real-world situations. Introduction. Pricing decisions tend to be the most important decisions made by any firm in any kind of market structure. The price is affected by the competitive structure of a market because the firm is an integral part of the market in which it operates. We have examined the two extreme markets, that is, monopoly and perfect competition in the previous unit. In this unit, the focus is on monopolistic competition and oligopoly, which lie in between the two extremes and are therefore more applicable to real-world situations. Monopolistic competition normally exists when the market has many sellers selling differentiated products, for example, retail trade, whereas oligopoly is said to be a stable form of a market where a few sellers operate in the market and each firm has a certain amount of share of the market and the firms recognize their dependence on each other. The features of monopolistic and oligopoly are discussed in detail in this unit. Monopolistic competition. Edward Chamberlain, who developed the model of monopolistic competition, observed that in a market with large number of sellers, the products so individual firms are not at all homogeneous. For example, soaps used for personal care. Each brand has a specific characteristics, be it packaging, fragrance, look, etc., though the composition remains the same. This is the reason that each brand is sold individually in the market. This shows that each brand is highly differentiated in the minds of the consumer. The effectiveness of the particular brand may be attributed to continuous usage and heavy advertising. As defined by Joe S. Bain, monopolistic competition is found in the industry where there are a large number of sellers selling differentiated but close substitute products. Take the example of soaps L and C. Both are soaps for personal care, but the brands are different. Under monopolistic competition, the firm has some freedom to fix the price, that is, because of differentiation, a firm will not lose all customers when it increases its price. Monopolistic competition is said to be the combination of perfect competition as well as monopoly because it has the features of both perfect competition and monopoly. It is closer in spirit to a perfectly competitive market, but because of product differentiation, firms have some control over price. The characteristic feature of monopolistic competition are a large number of sellers. Monopolistic market has a large number of sellers of a product, but each seller acts independently and has no influence on others. A large number of buyers. Just like the sellers, the market has a large number of buyers of a product and each buyer acts independently. Sufficient knowledge. The buyers have sufficient knowledge about the product to be purchased and have a number of options available to choose from. For example, we have a number of petrol pumps in the city. Now it depends on the buyer and the ease with which he or she will get the petrol decides the location of the petrol pump. Here, accessibility is likely to be an important factor. Therefore, the buyer will go to the petrol pump where he or she feels comfortable and gets the petrol filled in the vehicle easily. Differentiated products. The monopolistic market categorically offers differentiated products, though the difference in products is marginal. For example, toothpaste. Free entry and exit. In the monopolistic competition, entry and exit are quite easy, and the buyers and sellers are free to enter and exit the market at their own will. Nature of the demand curve. The demand curve of the monopolistic competition has the following characteristics. Less than perfectly elastic. In monopolistic competition, no single firm dominates the industry, and due to product differentiation, the product of each firm seems to be a close substitute, though not a perfect substitute for the products of the competitors. Due to this, the firm in question has high elasticity of demand. Demand curve slopes downward. In monopolistic competition, the demand curve facing the firm slopes downward due to the varied tastes and preferences of consumers attached to the products of specific sellers. This implies that the demand curve is not perfectly elastic. Price and output determination in short run. In monopolistic competition, every firm has a certain degree of monopoly power, that is, every firm can take initiative to set a price. Here, the products are similar but not identical. Therefore, there can never be a unique price, but the prices will be in a group reflecting the consumer's taste and preferences for differentiated products. In this case, the price of the product of the firm is determined by its cost function, demand, its objective, and certain government regulations, if there are any. As the price of a particular product of a firm reduces, it attracts customers from its rival groups. Say, for example, if S Company TV reduces its price by a substantial amount or offers discount, then the customers from the rival group who have loyalty for, say, LTV, tend to move to buy S Company's TV sets. As discussed earlier, the demand curve is highly elastic but not perfectly elastic and slopes downward. The market has many firms selling similar products. Therefore, the firm's output is quite small as compared to the total quantity sold in the market, and so its price and output decisions go unnoticed. Therefore, every firm acts independently, and for a given demand curve, marginal revenue curve and cost curves, the firm maximizes profit or minimizes loss when marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. Producing an output of Q selling at a price P maximizes the profits of the firm. Price and output determination in long run. We have discussed the price and output determination in the short run. We now discuss price and output determination in the long run. You will notice that the long-run equilibrium decision is similar to perfect competition. The core of the discussion under this head is that economic profits are eliminated in the long run, which is the only equilibrium consistent with the assumption of low barriers to entry. This occurs at an output where price is equal to the long-run average cost. The difference between monopolistic competition and perfect competition is that in monopolistic competition, the point of tangency is downward sloping and does not occur at minimum of the average cost curve, and this is because the demand curve is downward sloping. Under monopolistic competition in the long run, we see that LRAC is the long run average cost curve and LRMC the long run marginal curve. Let us take a hypothetical example of a firm in a typical monopolistic situation where it is making substantial amount of economic profits. Here it is assumed that the other firms in the market are also making profits. This situation would then attract new firms in the market. The new firms may not sell the same product, but will sell similar product. As a result, there will be an increase in the number of close substitutes available in the market, and hence, the demand curve would shift downwards since each existing firm would lose market share. The entry of new firms would continue as long as there are economic profits. The demand curve will continue to shift downwards till it becomes tangent to LRAC at a given price P and output at Q. At this point of equilibrium, an increase or decrease in price would lead to losses. In this case, the entry of new firms would stop, as there will not be any economic profit. Due to free entry, many firms can enter the market, and there may be a condition where the demand falls below LRAC and ultimately suffers losses, resulting in the exit of the firms. Therefore, under the monopolistic competition, free entry and exit must lead to a situation where demand becomes tangent to LRAC. The price becomes equal to average cost and no economic profit is earned. It can thus be said that in the long run the profits peter out completely. One of the interesting features of the monopolistically competitive market is the variety available due to product differentiation. Although firms in the long run do not produce at the minimum point of their average cost curve, and thus there is excess capacity available with each firm. Economists have rationalized this by attributing the higher price to the variety available. Oligopolistic competition. We define oligopoly as the form of market organization in which there are few sellers of a homogeneous or differentiated product. If there are only two sellers, we have a duopoly. If the product is homogeneous, we have a pure oligopoly. If the product is differentiated, we have a differentiated oligopoly. While entry into an oligopolistic industry is possible, it is not easy, as evidenced by the fact that there are only a few firms in the industry. Oligopoly is the most prevalent form of market organization in the manufacturing sector of most nations, including India. Some oligopolistic industries in India are automobiles, primary aluminium, steel, electrical equipment, glass, breakfast cereals, cigarettes, and many others. Some of these products are homogeneous, while others are differentiated. Oligopoly exists also when transportation costs limit the market area. For example, even though there are many cement producers in India, competition is limited to the few local producers in a particular area. Since there are only a few firms selling a homogeneous or differentiated production oligopolistic markets, the action of each firm affects the other firms in the industry and vice versa. For example, when automobile company GM introduced price rebates in the sale of its automobiles, automobile company F&M immediately followed with price rebates of their own. Furthermore, since price competition can lead to ruinous price wars, oligopolists usually prefer to compete on the basis of product differentiation, advertising, and service. These are referred to as non-price competition. Yet, even here, if GM mounts a major advertising campaign, F&M are likely to soon respond in kind. When soft drink company P mounted a major advertising campaign in the early 1980s, soft drink company C responded with a large advertising campaign of its own in the United States. From what has been said, it is clear that the distinguishing characteristic of oligopoly is the interdependence or rivalry among firms in the industry. This is the natural result of fewness. Since an oligopolistic knows that its own action will have a significant impact on the other oligopolists in the industry, each oligopolist must consider the possible reaction of competitors in deciding its pricing policies, the degree of product differentiation to introduce, the level of advertising to be undertaken, the amount of service to provide, etc. Since competitors can react in many different ways, depending on the nature of the industry, the type of product, etc., we do not have a single oligopoly model, but many each based on the particular behavioral response of competitors to the actions of the first. Because of this interdependence, managerial decision making is much more complex under oligopoly than under other forms of market structure. In what follows, we present some of the most important oligopoly models. We must keep in mind, however, that each model is at best incomplete. The sources of oligopoly are generally the same as for monopoly. That is, 1. Economies of scale may operate over a sufficiently large range of outputs as to leave only a few firms supplying the entire market. 2. Huge capital investments and specialized inputs are usually required to enter an oligopolistic industry, and this acts as an important natural barrier to entry. 3. A few firms may own a patent for the exclusive right to produce a commodity or to use a particular production process. 4. Established firms may have a loyal following of customers based on product quality and service that new firms would find very difficult to match. 5. A few firms may own or control the entire supply of a raw material required in the production of the product. And 6. The government may give a franchise to only a few firms to operate in the market. The above are not only the sources of oligopoly, but also represent the barriers to other firms entering the market in the long run. If entry were not so restricted, the industry could not remain oligopolistic in the long run. A further barrier to entry is provided by limit pricing, whereby existing firms charge a price low enough to discourage entry into the industry. By doing so, they voluntarily sacrifice short-run profits in order to maximize long-run profits. As discussed earlier, oligopolies can be classified on the basis of type of product produced. They can be homogeneous or differentiated. Steel, aluminum, etc. come under homogeneous oligopoly, and television, automobiles, etc. come under heterogeneous oligopoly. The type of product produced may affect the strategic behavior of oligopolists. According to economists, two contrasting behavior of oligopolists arise, that is, the cooperative oligopolists, where an oligopolist follows the pattern followed by rival firms, and the non-cooperative oligopolists, where the firm does not follow the pattern followed by rival firms. For example, a firm raises price of its product, the other firms may keep their prices low so as to attract the sales away from the firm, which has raised its price. But, as stated above, price is not the only factor of competition. As a matter of fact, other factors on the basis of which the firms compete include advertising, product quality, and other marketing strategies. Therefore, we normally have 4 general oligopolistic market structures, 2 each under cooperative as well as non-cooperative structures. We have firms producing homogeneous and differentiated products under each of the 2 basic structures. All these differences exist in the oligopolistic market. This shows that each firm tries to make an impact in the existing market structure and have an effect on the rival firm. This tends to be a distinguishing characteristic of an oligopolistic market. Price rigidity, kinked demand curve. Our study of pricing and market structure has so far suggested that a firm maximizes profit by setting MR is equals to MC. While this is also true for oligopoly firms, it needs to be supplemented by other behavioral features of firm rivalry. This becomes necessary because the distinguishing feature of oligopolistic market is interdependence. Because there are a few firms in the market, they also need to worry about rival firms' behavior. One model explaining why oligopolists tend not to compete with each other on price is the kinked demand curve model of Paul Sweezy. In order to explain this characteristic of price rigidity, that is, prices remaining stable to a great extent, Sweezy suggested the kinked demand curve for the oligopolists. The kink in the demand curve arises from the asymmetric behavior of the firm. The proponents of the hypothesis believe that competitors normally follow price decrease, that is, they show the cooperative behavior if a firm reduces the price of its product, whereas they show the non-cooperative behavior if a firm increases the price of its product. Marginal revenue for prices above the kink is given by MR1 and below the kink as MR2. At the kink, marginal revenue has a discontinuity at AB, and this depends on the elasticity of different parts of the demand curve. Therefore, in the presence of a kinked demand curve, firm has no motive to change its price. If the firm is a profit-maximizing firm where MR is equals to MC, it would not change its price even if the cost changes. This situation occurs as long as changes in MC fall within the discontinuous range. The firm following kinked model has a U-shaped marginal cost curve MC. The new MC curve will be MC1 or MC2 and will remain in the discontinued area, and the equilibrium price remains the same. Price competition, cartels and collusion. Cartel profit maximization. We already know now that in an oligopolistic competition, the firms can compete in many ways. Some of the ways include price, advertising, product quality, etc. Many firms may not like competition because it could be mutually disadvantageous. For example, advertising. In this case, many oligopolies end up selling the products at low prices or doing high advertising, resulting in high costs and making lower profits than expected. Therefore, it is possible for the firms to come to a consensus and raise the price together, increasing the output without much reduction in sales. In some countries, this kind of collusive agreement is illegal, for example, USA, but in some it is legal. The most extreme form of the collusive agreement is known as a cartel. A cartel is a market sharing and price fixing arrangement between groups of firms where the objective of the firm is to limit competitive forces within the market. The forms of cartels may differ. It can be an explicit collusive agreement where the member firms come together and may reach a consensus regarding the price and market sharing, or implicit cartel where the collusion is secretive in nature. Game theory. The story is something like this. Two KGB officers spotted an orchestra conductor examining the score of Tchaikovsky's Violin Concerto. Thinking the notation was a secret code, the officers arrested the conductor as a spy. On the second day of interrogation, a KGB officer walked in and smugly proclaimed, "Okay, you can start talking. We have caught Tchaikovsky." More seriously, suppose the KGB has actually arrested someone named Tchaikovsky and the conductor separately. If either the conductor or Tchaikovsky falsely confesses while the other does not, the confessor earns the gratitude of the KGB and only 1 year in prison. But the other receives 25 years in prison. If both confess, each will be sentenced to 10 years in prison. And if neither confesses, each receives 3 years in prison. Now consider the outcome. The conductor knows that if Tchaikovsky confesses, he gets either 25 years by holding out or 10 years by confessing. If Tchaikovsky holds out, the conductor gets either 3 years by holding out or only 1 year confessing. Either way, it is better for the conductor to confess. Tchaikovsky, in a separate cell, engages in the same sort of thinking and also decides to confess. The conductor and Tchaikovsky would have had 3 years rather than 10 years if they had not falsely confessed, but the scenario was such that individually false confession was rational. Pursuit of their own self-interests made each worse off. This first payoff in each cell refers to Tchaikovsky's and the second is the conductor's. Examination of the payoffs shows that the joint profit maximizing strategy for both is cooperate. The assumption in this game is that both the parties decided their strategies independently. Let us assume both parties are allowed to consult each other before the interrogation. Do you think cooperation will be achieved? It is unlikely, since each of them will individually be concerned about the worst outcome, that is, 25 years in jail. Cooperation in this prisoner's dilemma becomes even more difficult because it is a one-shot game. This scenario is easily transferred to the pricing decision of a company. Consider two companies setting prices. If both companies would only keep prices high, they will jointly maximize profits. If one company lowers price, it gains customer and it is thus in its interests to do so. Once one company has cheated and lowered price, the other company must follow suit. Both companies have lowered their profits by lowering price. Clearly, companies repeatedly interact with one another, unlike Tchaikovsky and the conductor. With repeated interaction, collusion can be sustained. Robert Axelrod, a well-known political scientist, claims a tit-for-tat strategy is the best way to achieve cooperation. A tit-for-tat strategy always cooperates in the first period and then mimics the strategy of its rival in each subsequent period. Axelrod likes the tit-for-tat strategy because it is nice, retaliatory, forgiving, and clear. It is nice because it starts by cooperating, retaliatory because it promptly punishes a defection, forgiving because once the rival returns to cooperation, it is willing to restore cooperation, and finally, its rules are very clear, precisely, an eye for an eye. A fascinating example of tit-for-tat in action occurred during the trench warfare of the First World War. Frontline soldiers in the trenches often refrained from shooting to kill, provided the opposing soldiers did likewise. This restraint was often indirect violation of high command orders. Price leadership. Price leadership is an alternative cooperative method used to avoid tough competition. Under this method, usually one firm sets a price and the other firm follows. It is quite popular in industries like cigarette industry. Here, any firm in the oligopolistic market can act as a price leader. The firm which is highly efficient and having low cost can be a price leader, or the firm which is dominant in the market acts as a leader. Whatever the case may be, the firm which sets the price is the price leader. We have two forms of price leadership: dominant price leadership and barometric price leadership. In dominant price leadership, the largest firm in the industry sets the price. If the small firms do not conform to the large firm, then the price war may take place, due to which the small firms may not be able to survive in the market. It is more or less like a monopoly market structure. This can be seen in the airlines industry in India, where the dominant airline firm sets price and the other subordinate airline firms follow the price changes of dominant airlines firm. Barometric price leadership is said to be the simpler of the two. This normally occurs in the market where there is no dominant firm. The firm having a good reputation in the market usually sets the price. This firm acts as a barometer and sets the price to maximize the profits. Here, it is important to note that the firm in question does not have any power to force the other firm to follow its lead. The other firms will follow only as long as they feel that the firm in action is acting fairly. Though this method is quite ambiguous regarding price leadership, it is legally accepted. These two firms are an integral part of different types of cooperative oligopoly. Barometric price leadership has been seen in the automobile sector. Summary. In this unit, we have tried to explain the concept of pricing with special reference to monopolistic and oligopolistic competition. The effort has also been made to include the application part of the concept of product differentiation in monopolistic competition and the oligopolistic competition. Talking about monopolistic competition, we have seen that in monopolistic competition, the firm's economic profit is evaded off completely in the long run. In the short run, monopolistic competition is quite similar to monopoly. We have discussed the oligopolistic competition in brief. The main characteristic of oligopolistic competition seems to be mutual interdependence, and this factor decides the nature of oligopolistic competition. We can summarize the whole unit by saying that the basis of differentiation between different types of competitions comprises of the number of sellers, the number of buyers, product differentiation, and barriers to entry. These factors decide the nature of competition in a particular market structure.
We were listening to the audiobook by the School of Management Studies IGNOU for MBA program. Course code MMPC 010, titled Managerial Economics. Course coordinator Dr. Leena Singh. Voiceover by Renuka. Edited by Savita. Program assisted by Tarannum Jahan. Program produced by Dr. Manoj Kumar Singh. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Production Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University.